Hey, here's a video I'm making it in English and Tamil because I know I've got a couple of friends living in Australia and India, in America. And I decided I was making a Tamil video actually just a while ago and thought I should make one in English also. I was meditating on the first Samuel chapter 30, one of my very favorite chapters. This morning when I woke up, I had a Facebook reminder or a memory about what happened to me in 2014. Something very interesting happened to me in 2014 actually. I had a very bad a situation in 2014 where my wedding was getting organized, and about 10 days before everything was coming together, it was called off, and that was one of my most broken situation, one of the most broken situation of my life, I would say. Yeah. And at that place, and this morning I wrote a quote uh, on that, on that when I was going through this, and that popped up this morning. And I thought, how many of us would be like me, going through a certain situation in life? And I thought this is going to be helpful for someone, somebody out there is going to need this. Somebody out there is going to want a word like this. So let me tell you what happened briefly about what happened to me in 2014. 2014, as I said, my wedding was getting together, but then it was called off 10 days before that. I got very upset. I got very, really broken at that time. I don't want to speak about it at that point because I thought it's not even right to. Sorry, excuse me. Some things you cannot stop, right? So, and I didn't want to speak about it because I felt so ashamed about myself, and I felt ashamed about why did this even happen to me. I didn't feel like giving an explanation to people. But today, it turned into a testimony in my life. I turn back and I say, I thank you, God, for the twist you had in my life, for what you did to me in my life. And the most interesting part was, at that point, the only paragraph, the only place that I found hope was in Ziklag, where David was in Ziklag. Ziklag means fort. Basically, it's his fort where he's out of his country. He's an exile. He's a refugee. You can't call him a refugee. He's an exile. He's exiled out of his own country. But now he's running away from Saul. But then he's in this place. And when he and his men for another exploit, in the meanwhile, his home was burnt by the other looters who came that way. They were looting things, and they burnt their house, and they took their wives and children as slaves. And in this place, he weeps like anything. He cries. He cried as though he lost all his strength. And that was a very interesting part. He cried as long as he cannot cry anymore. There was no strength in him left in him to cry. And that's the place he was. And I was thinking about it even when I was talking in Tamil. I got emotional when I came to that place, because when we are young, when we cry, we don't remember. But when you get old, I'm not saying very old, but to a certain stage, and when you cry, it becomes a memory in you, almost like a scar. You can turn back and you're like, and he wept as though he had no more strength in him. And that's the interesting part. But the next verse says, this is 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 6. He strengthened himself in the Lord. I like that part. But the most interesting part is not that. The next part is that he found the key. He found the key to unlock his destiny in this most broken situation of his life. You can say, where was it? Because the next thing he asked God is, what can I do? God said, pursue and you will restore everything. That's the word I like. Everything. You will restore everything. Our God is a God of restoration. You might have lost a time. You might have lost a relationship. You might have lost somebody whom you loved in your life. You might have lost so many things. I don't know what you've lost, but God is a God of restoration. I always think about the story of Job. God restored everything. I believe that God is speaking to you about restoring everything. Don't give up. Don't think it is over. Don't think, I can't do it anymore. Don't think maybe this is it. I can't take it. No. Pursue. Keep going. Keep going on your call. Keep going on your destiny. Keep going on what God has promised you. Keep going in believing in faith, and keep pursuing, because you're going to restore everything, the years that the locusts have eaten, you're going to restore it. I lost my education when I was in college because I was really a brat. Trust me, I agree. I mean, I had the mind to study, but I didn't have the discipline to discipline myself going to a class and sitting under the class. So what happened? I lost my education, and I turned back today. There are times I regretted it, but one day God told me, you no longer have to, because I have restored your past, and I have restored everything that was damaged in your past. You might be sitting there and thinking, maybe I should have done this, maybe I should have done that about your past. No, just accept what's happening in the present and start pursuing the greatness that God has for you in your future. Start pursuing the greatness that God has for you in your future. Keep looking into it and say, God, I'm going to focus on that. I've got a lot of issues, but I'm not going to go into that. But I'm going to just look into you. I'm going to look at you. I'm going to look at what you have for me. Because my life right now doesn't make a meaning. But you have got a whole big plan for me, which I cannot comprehend. Hold on with God and start pursuing Him. Why I'm saying this is in the 2014, as I said, things fell apart. And I thought I want to give up. I want to run away. I want to hide somewhere, because I don't want to give explanation to people. I don't want to answer to people. And I don't want to tell the same story to 100 different people. This is India. Everyone has got a nose in your story. And everyone wants to know what's happening. Some even have a feet in your story, not just their nose. And then you have to explain to everyone. I'm like, no, I'm really hiding. I can't do it. But the beautiful part was, I had an open invitation to come and preach in Melbourne at that time. What I did, I thought, I'm going to go. I'm not going to stay here. I said, I got to go out. I'm going to now compare what was happening in this chapter when I was reading. So when David was asking how and what I'm going to do, he said, you will restore everything. When he said you will restore everything, what David does is very interesting. David pursues. And then in the distance, he finds a man, an Egyptian slave. A slave who was left behind by his master because he was a burden to his master. Takes him, he didn't eat for 3 days. He picks him up, he gives him food, he strengthens him up. Very interesting. The key for David's destiny was being a good Samaritan. Yep, he was giving food and water and reviving a man back to life who was considered burdened by his master. Hey, there are many people in this world that we meet today who have been considered as burdened by other people, and they are left behind in life. Trust me, when you feel lonely, when you feel like you don't know where your destiny is taking you, when you feel burnt out, don't stop there. Go give a hand for somebody like that. Somebody who doesn't deserve it. Somebody whom the world says maybe you don't want to give him a chance. No, give a chance for such people like that. Give them hope. Speak life into them. Pick them up and give them some food. Clothe them up back in glory. Restore their life. You know why? Because that has the key to unlock your destiny. Yep. Because this guy whom David took and helped him, and that guy pointed out the direction to which that David should pursue. Look at that. This guy, this simple guy, this guy who was rejected, this guy who was no point, this guy who's a slave. In those days, slaves were not treated with respect. Somebody was used as a scum. And this guy, the whole society, the world, this is the value that he had. But that guy had the key that will unlock the destiny of David. I'll tell you what, there are many times we want to hit big stages. We want to hit these big pulpits. We want to be, doing something massive. Start something. Why not start something genuine and small? And maybe, but it's significant. Just that something is small doesn't mean it's not significant. You will never know the simple things that you're doing right now, dealing with right now, the value that he has behind, we will never know that. Until when you start connecting them to your destiny, you're like, wow, I thought I was in a place of no value. No. In a place where you can make a difference, change somebody's life, you're in a place of value. And God will see you through. God is watching you. God is watching you. If you look at Daniel, first 3 times he goes to God to pray, it was not about him. He wanted to save somebody else. He wanted to rescue somebody else from their death. And finally he becomes a minister. Actually, he didn't consider him. He was considering somebody else. Look at Joseph. He started interpreting dream for others, though his dream doesn't make any sense at that moment. He didn't say, oh, get lost. My dream in itself is not making any sense. I'm not going to tell you. No, he just took time to interpret dreams for people, though his dream didn't make any sense at that point. But what happened? God just gave him a boom, poof, and then he's there in the palace. Hey, Wherever you are, I tell you something. God is unlocking your destiny, making you step out in a place where you're broken and you're thinking, I need someone to pick me up. No, pick yourself up, stand to your feet, go encourage someone, give life to someone, make someone run, make someone come back to life, revive someone, and say, hey, you can find people. Trust me, you can find people anywhere. I have ministered to people on the streets here in America. Somebody whose life have just changed, just like that. I brought people to church the next Sunday. Hey, bike. I tell you, I can just go on with stories, but I want to just take you into it. What happened to me? I went to Melbourne because this is the word God told me. Don't sit here, don't whine, don't cry, don't give up, but pursue. So I thought, okay, I'm going to pursue. I thought, I am going to pursue my call. So I went to Melbourne. I've been preaching on this one subject, I've been preaching on move on and move forward. Trust me, why? Because that's what I'm going through. And with what I am going through, and I am preaching the same subject. But I didn't tell my story to anyone. Nobody knows about my story. Nobody can even figure out my story because I was a pastor by then. I didn't want to talk about my ugly story to anybody. You know what I'm saying, right? You gotta keep certain things to yourself. But at that time, that's how I felt. I didn't have the courage to talk openly like this. A pastor walked up to me in Melbourne and said, John, the girl you're going to marry has blonde hair. Hey, such a clarity, man. That was a direction. Trust me. When I was about to give up in my life, God said, pick yourself up, go and minister to somebody. I went and ministered to somebody, and there was a prophecy that changed my life. Woo! And that prophecy was this. That prophecy was very clear. The prophecy just said this to me. You know what? The girl you're going to marry is blonde hair. Man, that's very easy. To find someone with blonde hair in India, oh God, that has narrowed down your problem to nothing. But it is also very rare. But I'm happy because there was a direction. There was a pointing. I'm like, God, I'm going to take it. I came back to India. I prayed this prayer. I said to God, I want three things in a woman. One, I want the woman whom I'm going to marry to have a burden for India. Not just come to India, but love India. I want that woman to love India. Because without loving India, you can't stay in India, especially coming as a blonde. Nope. You have a special anointing to be in India. And then I prayed that prayer, and I said, God, I want the woman who would love India. And the second thing I prayed was, God, I want a woman who would dress like Indian. I know some of you are like, but trust me, where I come from is a very traditional place. It's a very old city. It's like I think my city is like 3,000 years old. Really old city. Such a tradition, such a strong tradition. And then I wanted my wife to be very, very, almost, similar to their culture, so she can assimilate with the people, not just be a blonde in India, but rather be an Indian in India. Because if you want to reach to people, you better be a Greek to the Greek and a Jew to a Jew, And then I prayed that prayer. The third thing I prayed was my wife should eat Indian food. I know some of you are, again looking at me, but the point is this: because I've got this Western guest come and stay with me in India. And I don't know what to feed them. Trust me. On the 5th day or the 4th day of their stay, I get confused. All I could think of, I thought white people eat only toast and steak. That's it, all I know. But now I live in America. It's a different story. I've learned their food, Though I go to Australia a little bit, but then some of the ingredients, we don't get it in India to make what they want. So I'm like, maybe they can't eat Indian food. So I want them to eat Indian food. I don't want to be in that confusion, living with a woman for the rest of my life and don't know what to feed her. Right? So I prayed that prayer. I said, God, this is what should happen. Very interesting. And I was called to preach in a church. This is happening in 2014, December. Hey, it wasn't even 6 months that God just orchestrated everything in my life. And January, here I am preaching in a church. I sat down for lunch, and next to me is Amanda sitting next to me, wearing an Indian dress, eating Indian food. I was so shocked because she was eating with her fingers, and it was a spicy food. And I looked at she wasn't my wife then. I looked at Amanda and said, hey, how long you been in India? She said 5 years. And I thought, oh my God. Hey guys, sometimes when our life is making no meaning and we think life is falling apart, they are falling into place. God is orchestrating everything in order Trust me. Don't give up. Pursue God. When life gets so tough, get more closer to God. Catch Him closer. Get nearer to Him. Say, God, I want you. I can't do it without you. And trust me, God has got a great plan of restoring everything in your life to greatness, to heights, to amazing places. I've been praying for people who have been divorced, single moms. I had such a burden for them in the last few weeks. I don't know why. The loneliness, I've been thinking about them. I'm praying for you guys. God is saying He's going to restore your life. They looked at Nehemiah in Nehemiah chapter 4 and said, do you think you can give life to this burnt heap of stones? And Nehemiah, yes. God is saying, yes. Your life looks so burnt right now. Trust me, He's got a plan for you. Focus into Jesus. Don't focus into your pain, because your pain is like an ocean that will just make you sink into it. But when you just see at Jesus, you will start walking on the water. You will walking on that same ocean of pain, and you will walking above it, not into it. And you will be making to the destiny. God will take you to the other shore. Trust me. Hold on to Him. Don't focus on your pain. Please focus on how loving is our God, who's bringing a great plan in for you. Hey, there are many times in our life the counterfeit comes first. Like Ishmael came first, and then was the Isaac. There are times in our life we think, oh my God, I'm going to lose it. No, you're not going to lose it. God is orchestrating it. Hey, some of you are like Ruth, just holding on to God. God is saying He's being the Boaz in your life. He's being the right man. He's being the right woman in your life. Don't give up. Don't give up. He's doing something amazing. Man, my story, I still, every morning when I wake up, I see my wife. I'm grateful. I tell God, God, thanks for pushing me, Lord. Thanks for strengthening me. You know what I'm doing to you today? I'm just giving you that push, because I'm not God, but I know for sure what our God is and who our God is and what He is capable of. And I'm just telling you guys, He's bringing a huge plan together for you. Though your life doesn't make any sense right now, it is all in the hands of God. He is building the broken pieces back into a beautiful art piece. Hold on to God today. Go strengthen somebody. Go give hope to somebody. They asked T.D. Jakes a few years ago, 3 years ago, there was an interview by Oprah, and she asked him, what do you think about this nation that is becoming fatherless, and many men who grew up now don't have fathers? How are they going to father their children right now? Will that affect their family? He said something very interesting. He said, whatever you didn't have in your childhood, maybe your father, now start fathering a child and start giving everything to that child that you missed in your life. And he said that will fulfill that spot, that empty spot inside of you. And that really triggered me, because when you start giving people what you wanted them to give you, and that will become a fulfillment inside of you. And I'm seeing this today. Go strengthen somebody. You know why? Because that is going to change your destiny. Because that is going to unlock your destiny. That is going to take you to a next level. Don't look at, you got to do something very, big. No, something small might be very significant. It might be a small little thing, but it'll be significant. And I want you to do that today. Go encourage your pastors. There are many pastors who are giving up. Go encourage somebody on the street, because there are so many people giving into suicide. Hey, I've been reading certain surveys that breaks my heart. There are many people in the ministry are getting burnt out, losing their inspiration because of criticisms, because of people cornering them, because they are not appreciated, because they don't get enough result what they want. Some people don't have enough church members, and they're like, oh my God, I don't know. No, stand with somebody like that. When David had the toughest time, many just left him. That's very easy. But the few who stood with him, I believe they are the generals in the kingdom of God. Those who will stand by the man of God when that man of God is falling apart. I tell you, that person who's standing with your pastor when he's falling apart, man, I tell you, you have a great reward in heaven. I'll tell you the reason why, because you are not giving up. There are many times great heroes didn't give up because there was somebody out there who did not give up on them. So they rose up and they did great things. I believe you are a great person. To you I'm speaking to. You have a great potential inside of you. Go heal somebody, liberate somebody, set someone free. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon you to set the captives free. I bless you. On the streets, in the market, in the shop, call. Tell me about anything. Hey, might be Target, go to someone whom the Spirit of the Lord leads you. Talk to them. Strengthen them. Strengthen anybody that you can. Because in that lies your strength. God bless you.